For years, Meghan Markle projected the perfect image of a modern royal: compassionate speeches, polished interviews, curated family moments that felt almost cinematic. But behind the filtered photos and expertly staged narratives, someone else witnessed a very different reality. A woman who lived inside the Sussex home, worked under its rules, saw its rhythms, and felt its silence. A woman who claims that what the world saw was not the life she saw. According to her, the fairy tale wasn't broken. It was never real to begin with. This nanny didn't come forward with rumors or headlines. She came forward with lived experience. And the picture she paints isn't of glamour or chaos, but of something colder, controlled, choreographed, and meticulously managed down to the smallest detail. Her story rewrites everything the public believed about Meghan, Harry, and their family life behind those guarded California gates. But the most unsettling part isn't what she says happened behind closed doors. It's what she claims never happened at all. And once you hear her story, you might never look at those perfect Sussex family photos the same way again. From the very beginning, something felt off, long before the nanny ever stepped inside the Sussex home. The job description came across her desk like any other high-profile childcare position, but the language was different. It didn't read like it was searching for someone who adored kids, understood early development, or loved teaching toddlers how to walk and talk. Instead, it read like it was looking for a cast member. Every requirement was oddly specific: discreet, non-distracting, adaptable. The phrasing seemed gentle on the surface, but between the lines it carried another meaning entirely: competent, but not someone who might pull focus. Whispers among agency staff suggested this wasn't about childcare, it was about protecting an image. Some candidates said their appearance was quietly evaluated, others said social media presence, relationship status, or even confidence level mattered. One applicant joked, "It's like they want Mary Poppins, but she better not outshine the brand." The nanny didn't know whether to laugh or worry. It felt more personal than professional. And while demanding high standards for a royal household wasn't surprising, the message felt unmistakably clear. Your life doesn't just fit around the job. Your life must orbit around Meghan. She almost turned the position down right there. But the pull of curiosity and the prestige of working with a globally known family kept her from walking away. What she didn't know was that the real shock wouldn't come from the job description. It would come from how they planned to choose her. But the real interview was something she never saw coming. When the nanny arrived for what she assumed would be a standard interview, the atmosphere hit her instantly. The home was beautiful, almost museum-like, but too quiet, like everyone inside was waiting for a cue. She was greeted politely, told to relax and go about a normal trial day. But there was a tension in the air she couldn't quite place. That tension revealed itself quickly. Every room she entered had a strange symmetry, too perfect to feel lived in. And although no one mentioned it outright, she began noticing tiny glimmers of black glass in corners, elevations near vents, and a faint mechanical hum when she crossed specific thresholds. It didn't take long before she realized what was happening. She was being watched. Later, she would learn the cameras weren't just for security. They were part of a behavioral analysis, Meghan's preferred way of evaluating staff. The Sussexes wanted to see how she walked, how she spoke, how she smiled, how she reacted to sudden changes. They weren't looking for a nanny. They were studying a character. When Meghan finally entered the room, her questions cut deeper. They weren't about childhood milestones or sleep training. They were about personality, control, and emotional compliance. How do you handle being corrected? What do you do when someone misinterprets your intentions? When things don't go as planned, who do you become? Subtle questions, but revealing. By the end of the day, the nanny realized something chilling. She hadn't met a family. She'd stepped into a production, and inside that production, another clash was brewing. Behind public smiles and carefully staged appearances, the Sussex home carried a quieter tension, one that rarely slipped into public view. The nanny noticed it immediately during her training. Harry wanted a traditional Norland nanny, the kind he grew up with. Uniformed, discreet, professional in the old-world royal way. To Harry, this wasn't classism, it was stability, structure, the only thing he knew from his own childhood. It symbolized security. Meghan wanted the opposite. She envisioned someone who blended into her California lifestyle, casually dressed, modern, socially aware, flexible, image-friendly, someone who fit the brand of a progressive, relatable family, someone who didn't remind her of royal protocols she had long rejected. Everything became a negotiation: the nanny's shoes, the tone of her voice, how she styled her hair, even whether she smiled too much or too little. Harry referenced Diana: warmth, kindness, consistency. Meghan countered with privacy, boundaries, and independence. The arguments weren't explosive, but they were sharp, tense, wrapped in polite smiles, but loaded with unspoken irritation. Eventually, Meghan's vision won. The uniform vanished. The structure softened. The household shifted. But the nanny sensed something deeper beneath these clashes, a question neither husband nor wife seemed to voice aloud. What kind of family were they trying to be? But beneath those choices was a deeper question. Where were the children? Long before the public ever saw baby bumps, polished maternity photos, or glowing headlines, the nanny began noticing something that left her unsettled. There were no signs of pregnancy, no doctor's visits, no prenatal vitamins in the kitchen, no maternity clothes in laundry baskets, no nursery prep, no quiet conversations about due dates. At first, she assumed it was privacy. After all, Meghan fiercely protected her personal narrative. But as weeks turned into months, the silence inside the home didn't match the story the world was being sold. When the first public baby bump photos surfaced, confusion rippled through the staff. People exchanged glances, but never words. Some were warned outright. Certain topics are not to be discussed. The contradiction was too big to ignore. What the world saw in glossy images didn't resemble the private reality inside the home. The nanny didn't jump to conclusions. She didn't want to. But something simply didn't add up. And after the birth, something even more unsettling surfaced. The longer the nanny worked in the Sussex home, the more uneasiness built inside her. Because there was one question she couldn't escape. Where were the kids? Houses with toddlers have a rhythm. Toys scattered around, tiny socks under couches, coloring books left on chairs, fingerprints on windows, juice cups forgotten in corners. But inside the Sussex mansion, there was nothing. No toys, no spills, no children's clothing, no laughter, no late-night crying, no clutter, no signs of any daily chaos. Rooms meant for children remained spotless, almost untouched. Playrooms stayed locked. Meals prepared for family time sat uneaten. Even during supposed family gatherings, the home stayed eerily still. The nanny asked herself whether the children stayed elsewhere for privacy, but even on days when she was told they were home, the house felt empty. Staff whispered carefully, eyes darting toward the ever-present cameras. "Everything here is managed," one muttered. "Even what we're meant to believe." The nanny's suspicion hardened into conviction. This wasn't a home raising children. It was a home staging the idea of children. Then came the Netflix documentary, and nothing matched. When Harry and Meghan's Netflix documentary premiered, the nanny watched like the rest of the world. But for her, the experience was deeply personal. What she saw on screen wasn't the house she knew. The decor was different. The light hit the windows differently. Rooms had new layouts. The living room didn't match her memory. Even the garden shots looked like they belonged to another property. Scenes that looked intimate and spontaneous, children laughing, toys scattered, parents cuddling on the floor, felt staged to her. The laughter sounded edited, too crisp. The lighting too perfect. To the world, the documentary showed a loving family. To the nanny, it showed set pieces. She paused the footage on a frame of Meghan sitting on the floor with toys around her. It looked warm and candid. But the background didn't resemble the room she cleaned daily. Even the toys didn't match what she'd seen in storage. The realization hit her like a cold wave. This wasn't a documentary capturing real life. It was a documentary constructing a life. But inside the real house, the atmosphere wasn't warmth. It was surveillance. Working in the Sussex residence felt less like entering a family home and more like entering a controlled fortress. The nanny learned quickly that nothing inside those walls moved without clearance. Personal phones, surrendered, conversations, monitored, friendships, discouraged, small talk, risky. Multiple checkpoints guarded every entrance. Devices were sealed in opaque pouches. Cameras watched hallways, doorways, even garden paths. Rumors circulated that certain rooms had hidden microphones for safety, though the staff didn't feel protected. They felt observed. Day by day, the environment wore people down. Workers grew silent. Gardeners avoided eye contact. Cleaners whispered only in passing. Harry himself seemed quieter, more withdrawn, as though privacy had become another performance to upkeep. The nanny left each day mentally drained, stripped of warmth, suffocated by the constant awareness of being watched. The home promised privacy but delivered paranoia. And behind those perfect hedges, trust became the rarest luxury of all. And yet, the strangest part wasn't inside the walls, but what happened when cameras arrived. If there was one pattern the nanny could no longer ignore, it was the transformation the house underwent whenever cameras or photographers were scheduled. Blank rooms suddenly bloomed with flowers and toys. Framed family photos materialized overnight. Kids' blankets were arranged just so. Children's books appeared like props. Everything looked staged, because it was. On one morning, a private family shoot was scheduled. The nanny was told the children were home, but the house remained impossibly quiet. No footsteps, no chatter, no tantrums, no typical toddler chaos. Yet Meghan emerged glowing, calm, perfectly camera-ready. Her movements were soft, deliberate, as though every gesture had been timed. Later, when the famous chicken coop photos appeared online, staff exchanged uneasy looks. None remembered that moment happening. None recognized the children in the images. Everything felt curated for public consumption, not captured from real life. Family didn't seem to be documented. Family seemed to be assembled. And that's when the nanny understood the truth she could no longer ignore. The nanny didn't step forward out of spite. There was no vendetta, no headline-chasing motive, no desire for revenge. She stepped forward because she spent years inside a home where authenticity was overshadowed by performance. Everything the world believed about the Sussex household, the warmth, the chaos, the relatable modern parenting, felt manufactured to her. She hadn't witnessed scandal or dysfunction. She had witnessed silence. A silence created by control, image, and the constant expectation that perception mattered more than reality. Her story isn't about tearing someone down. It's about lifting the curtain. Because sometimes the most unsettling truths aren't hidden through lies. They're hidden through the stories people choose to tell. And if this left you questioning what's real and what's rehearsed, you'll want to see the piece of the puzzle that came before this. When Sarah Ferguson allegedly exposed Meghan's yacht days and forced the royal world to reconsider everything they thought they knew. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next upload. And don't forget to drop a like and share your thoughts in the comments. It helps the channel grow and lets me know what stories you want covered next.